I'm so glad to welcome on my side Yuri.
Yeah, hello.
Yuri, you are not a brewer, but now you are a brewer, but you are not a... Explain to me one more.
Okay, look, I'm 48, and till 42 I was a guy working in the corporate world, working for big companies like a hired businessman, and my education is to be an economist, an entrepreneur, a businessman. So I decided to put my business in the brewing world, and I'm very happy since then. So now I am a brewer, I'm designing beers as well, and I'm running a brewery, which is also associated with a big beer restaurant of 700 seats in Lviv, West Ukraine.
So in short, you are a startup.
Well, you can call it a downshift, you can call it a startup, but talking about the place where we are now, where craft beer is very uncommon and very new in Ukraine, one of Europe's poorest countries probably, we are probably can be considered as a startup, yes.
And I mean startup with all its positive vibes and positive thoughts.
Yes, yeah. Until it fails sometimes.
No. Okay, Ukraine, you are from the Ukraine.
Yes.
How is the brew scene in Ukraine?
In Ukraine, you have three types of companies. One is a big mass breweries like Salzburg and other ones. Then you have regional breweries, which are the breweries which were set up in the Soviet times, and they are doing beers which are a little dirty in terms of sanitation and everything. And then you have a very small, like 0.5% in volume layer, which are new and up and coming craft breweries. And we are one of the bigger craft breweries in Ukraine, still being very small.
Are there a lot of craft breweries in Ukraine, or is it just a very small market for craft brewers?
It's a small market, but still it's a small market everywhere. And we have our own craft beer and vinyl music beer festival every year, well, twice a year. And every year, every festival has about 10 to 15,000 people. So you could say it's very uncommon, but still you have lots of people coming and interested in craft beer.
If you ever have seen our channel, then you recognize this beer, because this one we already tested, and this one is well, let's say it's a pretty nice marketing stunt. Okay, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. The beer is also good, actually.
Yeah. The beer is also good, but everyone, of course, if you see this beer in the beer shelf in your supermarket, then you definitely have a closer look to the beer, because you think, what the heck is this? First thought is, does Trump really now have his own beer? Is Trump so famous that someone just made a beer with his name and maybe licensed his name? What's going on there? So tell us, what's going on there? Okay,
if the guy has a skyscrapers and he's got one of the world's most powerful countries in more or less in his pocket, why couldn't have a beer? Okay, but that's a bit of irony. What we try to do is we make a lot of political or ironic labels about Putin, about Merkel, about Trump, about Trudeau, because why not? We are a small craft brewery, we are not restricted by something, and actually what you said about being very visible, this beer can also give you troubles because it cannot be allowed to sell in the US, which could be the biggest market for this beer. And actually, if you also work with supermarket chains, they would not also look at this beer as a possibility, because they would say, oh, what if you get sued by Mr. Trump, you know? So it's not a very easy beer to sell. In a way, it's very easy to attract attention, but then if you want to make a deal, it doesn't go so well. Okay, so but in all the beers you do, there's a deep layer of political statement, isn't there? It's not all the beers, but we are a Ukrainian brewery. We are not German brewery or Czech brewery or American brewery. So we are, as Ukrainians, we are trying to make our statement with all these political things. You know, if we have a war with Russia in the east of Ukraine, we make the beer which is called Putin Dickhead. You know, and then on the label we explain in English why that is so. You know, because we are not politicians, but we are small entrepreneurs just happening to live in that country. So if we live in that country, we want to make our case a little visible, a little known. And craft beer is something that makes people a bit more emotional. So if we sell, let's say, 10,000 bottles to Germany, we want 10,000 people to read a small story why we did this kind of beer. It's not just because of fun. And we could make beer which would sell as well with a neutral label. But if we have this chance to send a little, you can consider this as a little newspaper, you know? And that's our little newspaper that we as local citizens do for the rest of the world.
Well, I think that's a lot of courage that's involved here, and I think this is very sympathetic. It's nice. It's really it just has the right vibes for me. And but it's all about the beers in the end, and that's why we just have a little short look at the beer. Okay, let's pour it in.
Okay.
Fruity aroma in the nose. What kind of hops do you use?
This one has Sapphire, and it has Hersbrucker and Magnum for bittering.
Okay.
And it has also lime leaves to make it a little bit more citrusy. And remember, this is Imperial Mexican Lager. Yeah, so it has to have something a little bit citrusy. We used to do it with fresh lime juice, but then we found that just using lime leaves gives it a better aroma, and it also makes it a better technology to use in the brewing.
Well, it's definitely very interesting, and if you maybe like classical Mexican beer styles like Salitos or Desperados, then you will love this one. Because, as you say, it's a kind of a dry touch in the mouth and a little citrus too, and that's very interesting. It's a very interesting beer, and I'm just wondering if people. No, I think people should know about the story because, you know. If you see this in the shelves in the supermarket, then maybe you're just afraid and you think to yourself, I won't support this whole anymore, and that's why I won't buy this beer. Okay. But you can assure there's not one single cent that goes to Trump if you buy this beer.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Absolutely. Guaranteed.
Yuri, it's such a pleasure that you're here. We wish you all the best. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Cheers.